welcome to the Purpose Over Profit podcast with Darren and Chris, where each week we discuss what it takes to live a life of purpose and profit and explore the lives of people trying to achieve just that. Good evening, everyone. Hope you're really well. Joined with a couple of guests tonight, which is the first time I've had 3 people on, which is good. But we've got Chris, my co-host from the Purpose Over Profit podcast. How you doing, Chris?
Very well, Darren. Yeah, it's the first time you've had a threesome. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, let's just say so.
Sorry.
And,
Don't ask me that.
we'll get on it. We'll ask Kirsty in a second. But yeah, we've got Kirsty's our main guest tonight. So she is a self-love coach, which we'll go there. I don't know where threesomes fit in with that. But more importantly, I guess for tonight, she's a sobriety expert. Yes. And I just thought it would be really good. Kirsty's background is, well, you can come on and I guess give your take on it. But I know you're self-proclaimed, former party girl, and you've been sober for. I'll let you drop the bomb, so to speak, in terms of how long you've been sober for. And I just want to have a chat about it. It's something that isn't talked about a lot. It's usually talked about with a whole load of stigma and about, anyone that's not drinking must be boring and there must be something wrong with them. And we've got a real, particularly in Scotland, there's a real cultural dependency on getting drunk every single week. And I just wanted to have a chat about it. So I thought it'd be useful. And it's something which I know we're all kind of interested in. But Kirsty, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the live. How are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm really good today. Thank you very much. I'm excited to speak to you. I enjoyed speaking to you the last time we spoke. And it's really exciting and important for me to talk about sobriety, because I don't think we talk about it enough in this country. And just for some of the things that you touched on there, it gets a really bad rap. And also, I'm going to pick you up. You said ex-party girl. I still party when we're allowed to. So I still love to go out, as you know, because you and I know each other, Darren. So ex-drinker and recreational drug taker for years and years and years. I'm 44 now. Started drinking when I was 14, probably 15, and then travelled abroad with techno sound systems. So I had an amazing 20s, took a lot of drugs, drunk a lot, and then in my 30s it got really problematic. So wasn't really partying so much in the 30s. It was just my 30s. It was quite sad. I had a great job. Worked in the corporate world, similar line of work to what you were doing, Darren, but really just drinking way too much, like almost every day. There would be the odd day I wouldn't drink, but it was acceptable because it was wine and I had a hard job and I was a single parent and, I deserved the wine, and the weekends turned into getting coke and I know I speak about that quite a lot on my social media, on my Sober Buzz page, and I know maybe for some people that's quite shocking that I speak so openly about it. But everybody knows people that are doing coke at the weekend. Everybody knows people that are drinking too much. And I think I'm quite comfortable to speak about it. My family know about it. And I've had a major turnaround in my life. Almost 3.5 years without a drink and without taking any recreational drugs. Thanks.
Yeah, which is phenomenal. When you say that, it's like 1,000 G's, like 3.5 years. And to some people, it might be since the age of legal drinking, probably before, because no one waits to their legal age to start drinking, but potentially have never went more than a week or a fortnight without having even one drink.
Yep.
It kind of puts it into some sort of context for me, how how much of a difference and how long that period is. But yeah, that's fantastic. And I guess from a sobriety point of view, you I should state as well, I don't know if you set up, but you kind of manage Sober Buzz, which is a community. And I'm glad you picked up on the fact that I said you're an ex-party girl, because you're absolutely right. You do not, this association about having to have a drink in order to have a good time, to be able to party, is just utter bullshit. Let's just call it what it is. But culturally, that is something that's been taken as a norm. But do you want to talk a little bit about the Sober Buzz community, how that came about?
Yeah.
I guess how did you even make that transition? Was that something that was there when you started this? Right, I'm going to change and I'm going to become sober.
But we'll see before we jump on that. I'm just amazed at the fact that you mentioned about people needing drink to enjoy themselves, and it's a kind of norm in the kind of Scottish society that you need to have a drink. Because I was even talking to a dad the other day at the school, and he was telling me he had 27 cans over 2 days, 27 cans of Tennent's over a 2-day period. And the funny thing was, after 17 cans in one day, he went to his bed and he didn't feel that bad. I was like, Jesus, wow. He's like, what were you? You still drinking? Because I'm part of a drink project. And I was like, no, I'm 66 days drink free, and I'm now 81 days drink free. I'm trying to hit a target of 100. And he was like, bloody hell, what? 66 days? That's not even possible, is it? And I was like, wow. So that guy's got a mentality is that he can only go a couple of days. So you're right to challenge it, and that aspect that you need to be drunk to have a good time is just blown out the water. So completely, yeah. So well done, Kirsty. Amazing. Over 1,000 days is tremendous.
When I was 1,238, when I was drinking, I wasn't having a good time. Like laterally, I wasn't having a good time. And people that speak to me in sober buzz, to go back to what Darren was saying. So when I stopped drinking, I had a drink problem, and I had to keep my head down for 6 months to know that I wouldn't drink. You know, I had to really remove myself from a lot of situations, not go to parties, not go clubbing. I was going out for meals occasionally. I was in a relationship then, and he still drank, but we didn't live together. So I was able to come back home and, you know, just really focus on my sobriety. And I went public at about, I think maybe 6 or 7 months. I can't remember because I don't have that page anymore. And people couldn't believe it. Like, people could not believe it, because at the very beginning I'd said I had an upset tummy and I wasn't drinking on doctor's orders and all the rest of it, because I was the one that started the party. I was the one that wanted to keep it going. I was the one that ended up everywhere. So it was a big surprise to people. And then one woman that I know got in touch with me and said, I would like to stop drinking. How did you do it? She was similar lifestyle to me. And it ended up 5 of us. And we started a page called Sober as Fuck Edinburgh. And that was great. And it still goes. My friend Leona runs that. And then I was asked to join Sober Buzz Scotland, because the woman that had started that was very much in its infancy at the time. She wanted to do events, and we started doing events, but Leanna left really quite quickly. She was pursuing something else. So I've been running Sober Buzz Scotland for almost, I think, maybe about 18, 19 months now. And when I got sober and I was doing it on my own, I found this wee community in New Zealand, and it's called Mrs. D is Going Sober. And every morning or night, I can't remember, I would type in, that's me 4 days sober or 5 days sober, because it was huge to me. And these New Zealanders were like, you're doing amazing, you know, keep at it, just keep telling us what you're doing. I started my gratitude practice on the morning. So I am 1,230 days sober, but I've also done a gratitude practice for that amount of days. Every single day I practiced gratitude, and gratitude saved my life. I was having suicidal thoughts. I was thinking my family would be better off without me. And I'm a mum, you know, I've got an adult child now. She wasn't an adult at the time. So for me, Sober Buzz, yeah, there will be meetups again, but it's not really a business. It's about people being like, wait a minute, she's fucking doing it, and she's living our best life. Sound like I'm 20. She's living a good life. And, you know, I'm really still into the same things I've always been into. I love techno, I love music, I love gigging, I love travel, all the things I wanted to do before, but I'm doing it now and I'm remembering them, you know, and I want to show people. And that's how it didn't really start like that, but now it's like I almost feel kind of like a responsibility. And I don't mean, oh, woe is me, because I'm so delighted to give back. But the amount of people that get in touch with me now and say, and I mean, I'm talking maybe in your hundreds, who've told me they've got sober with the help from me and my page, and or just by watching me and asking me how I do it. So it's amazing. And people send me pictures of them doing stuff at the weekend, and like, I've had a night out and I've not been drinking, and people always say, I just thought it'd be boring. I just thought, like, and so did I. I had this vision in my head, right, that I would never be able to go to a pub because I'd be like tempted to jump over and you know, drink the gin out the optics or something. But you know, you get to the stage and you're not thinking like that at all. You're just similar to my coaching, because I am a life coach, and it's very, very similar sort of work, and it's reframing your mind. So when I tried to stop drinking before, I was shaming myself. I was like, oh my God, you're such a fucking disaster. This is awful. And then the day that I stopped, I thought, I'm going to look after you. You need love. You need care. You don't need shame anymore. You know, so that's how I help people in Sober Buzz as well, because I don't shame them. I'm not like, oh, you've messed up again or whatever. I'm like, you are a wonderful human being as you are. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, if you start to work to remove that stuff from you, you'll begin to see just how precious you are, and you won't want to let yourself down again, or you won't want to make yourself so ill again. And people aren't doing that in Scotland. You know, I'm probably one of the only. There's a lot more pages coming up now, but I'm probably the most vocal, I think, in Scotland about it.
Yeah, and I love your stuff. I know, like, people will already get a gist if they haven't met you before, but around just how forthright you are with, like, life just in general. But you know, the fact that even getting into that space. So if you accepting that this thing about a problem, like you've got a problem with drink, a lot of people just go, that's not me. Like I would have said, I've never had a problem with drink, but I did. Because why?
If it causes one negative impact, so if it negatively
100%.
impacts you at all, you can't get up in time to get the kids ready for school, or the kids are rushing out the door without packed lunch, you're not giving 100% of your work. Darren, you said something to me today that I really thought about, and thank you for it. And you said to me, it's so aware that you know who you are and you don't give a fuck what anybody else feels. I never knew who I was when I was drinking. I did not have a clue because I was continually telling bullshit. Oh yeah, no, I'm just running a bit late. This is going on. Da, 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 da. You know, and it was just all constantly trying to keep up with myself, and it was all bullshit. Because I was constantly letting myself down. You don't have to get to my stage, but if once a week you're like not on your A game, or you have to let somebody down, let yourself down is the biggest thing. That's a problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not when you speak about the place that you were. It's not when people think about like having a problem with alcohol. It's like I'm alcohol dependent. I'm drinking every single day, and that doesn't actually. That's probably not where the majority of people have the issue with drink. It's the attachment association we've probably got, and it'd be good to get your thoughts on this from within that community around, or within the Sober Buzz community around like this weekend, this culture, like I've got Monday to Friday, man, it's just like been a shit week. And the association that to switch off, to relax, to be chilled, I've got to go and open a bottle of wine, or I've got to go and, grab a couple of beers. And before you know it, 2 beers turns into 3, and half a dozen and 12 or 27. And
17 Monday. Yeah.
But that's the bit where I think the majority of people just say, it's just a weekend. That's cool. That's absolutely acceptable. But you mentioned something earlier around the 2 things. You were like, you made a change. It was gratitude and stop drinking. And I guess if I was thinking from a prescription point of view as a doctor, right? I'm not a doctor, by the way. But if I was prescribing something, I'd say, drink will take you to the exact same place every time. It doesn't take you anywhere different. There's not a lot to learn from being drunk. It takes you into that bullshit and sort of like hazy sort of place, right? But the guarantees from it are anxiety, low sex drive. You're going to feel lethargic the next day. You're going to eat shit. You're going to be less likely to exercise. You're going to break commitments the following day. And even just from a productivity point of view, if you're, part of this page is about personal development and growth and, purpose to progress, it's about being purposeful. Well, what do you want to actually go and achieve in your life? And actually, if you could prescribe something every single week that's going to stop you from doing that, it's probably going to be a couple of beers, or it's going to be a bottle of wine every week. So it doesn't have to be that kind of extreme end to it.
And that's before we've even touched. There was a report today came out from, I think it's the Royal College of Physicians. So we've not even touched on what it's doing to you physically, like actually inside. Yeah. I speak to, I see online, I'm mostly on Instagram, and I see people who are selling a lifestyle, I very much sell a lifestyle. I should imagine people look at me and think that's, she's living a life a certain way. They're doing that Monday to Friday, and then they're on it at the weekend. And I'm like, where does that sit with that? Where does that sit? One of my really good friends from Sober Buzz sent me a screenshot of a PT and fitness person's page, and she was advocating, it's Friday night, just have a bottle of wine. And I'm like, I don't know where that sits at the moment, mate. I don't know. Now, it's really important for me to say that, I would have thought that I was a wanker 4 years ago. I'd have been like, what a tosser. But I have spent so long studying this and looking into it. And yeah, I had a good job in the corporate world, but I was going nowhere. And I was going nowhere really, really fast. It was just like dead end. I have done more in 3.5 years because my productivity is so high, because my health's the best. I ran a half marathon at the weekend.
I've seen that.
I could not have ran the length of me. And I'm not just saying that. It's not like, oh yeah, I exercise. I never exercised since I left school. I'm the fittest I've been. I'm the healthiest I've been. I'm on no prescription drugs anymore. I used to be for my mental health. We're not even touching on what it's doing for our physical and mental health. Yeah, it's all right to say we're not productive and all the rest of it, but we're just ignoring it. It's like, oh, well, 27 cans, or, oh God, a bottle of vodka, or 3 bottles of wine. Like that, it's mega bad for you.
It's even the aspect, I'm reading the book just now, Why We Sleep.
Yeah.
Fantastic book
Yeah,
just
yeah.
now. So see, when you consider when you're drinking as well, the impact
Yeah.
that has on you when you're trying to sleep as well, because you're basically sleeping off the toxins. So your body's not got the time to recover and do all the good stuff it needs to do as well. I mean, I loved when you said I was I look at myself probably be a wanker in 3 years' time if you consider where you are now. And I love that social media post you put out where you put about the tree, how you sat under the tree and you connected to the tree, and you used to say the only time you sit under a tree is if you've got a baby out at the park or a gig. Yeah, so I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I mean, I meditate now, journal, but I run my own business. Like, I am a businesswoman. So like all that sort of stuff, that would not have been happening before, you know, because I've removed, and going back to what you were saying, Dan, and you're right, you don't have to be drinking like I was every day. I work with women, only work with women. I work with women who are drinking 2 or 3 times a week, but it's not doing them any good. They know, they're like, this doesn't fit right, doesn't fit with who I want to be, but I don't know how to give it up. One of the narratives always is, I deserve it. I really deserve this glass of wine because work's been hard. So I'm like, play it forward. How are you going to feel tomorrow? How many glasses are you going to have? Do you deserve to feel like that? And they're like, no, actually, you know, because we're just always looking for that short-term gratification type thing, you know, rather than long-term satisfaction. So you don't have to be to where I am. You know, you could just, like Dan at the very beginning, and well done to you, Chris, but at the beginning you were like, some people haven't even, you know, went 14 days. I don't know many people that have went, you know, 3 days, 4 days, unless they've been pregnant or been in hospital or been very unwell. People look at you like you're mad if you're like, because I tell my clients to go be off it for 12 weeks. Most of them do it, but they're so shocked, like 12 weeks without a drink.
And
it's like you're saying you can't brush your teeth for 12 weeks or you can't, I don't know, whatever else like you would do on like a daily basis. But it is culturally, do you think there's any difference between, do you think there's any differences between Scotland and, I guess I know you were affiliated with the New Zealand group that helped you get through and get sober to start with, but is there any differences? Is it just a Scottish thing, or do you think, or is it just a British thing?
Very British, but there's some amazing pages down south. Sober Circle, she's down in Bristol. Sober Girl Society, they're pretty much the whole of the UK. My page isn't just followed by Scottish people. I'm followed by people from all over the world now. And it's a very cultural thing for Britain, I think, you know. When we came out of lockdown, you know, Boris Johnson's like, everybody go and have a drink. There's a very serious side to the work that I do, and I work with people whose families have lost people because they've been drinking on sober. But I don't work; it's not work. I speak to people. But there's a very serious side where people are an active addiction. Yet, you know, the government is saying that off licenses were essential shops. Now, previously in fact, when you and I met, Darren, I worked in a prison. I worked for a charity in a prison, and I was supporting offenders in recovery. And some people are alcohol dependent, but there's other ways to get them alcohol rather than telling a country that's in lockdown and all their businesses are closed, but the off licenses are essential. That is not a great message. So yeah, it's a British thing, and it's like, you know, and then I'm actually speaking to the SNP at the moment about the lack of funds to be put into talking therapies, because I think that's where we need to be putting our money. So there's not enough money for those mental health stuff that we need, right? But we're really encouraging. You know, there was an ad this week. We all have to drink 127 pints, you know, to get the economy back up. Yeah. So I looked into that a bit more, and another page put up a great spread about that. And it was actually an advertising agency, obviously, you know, trying to, you know, like clickbait or whatever. People are like, oh God, it's just a bit of a joke. But it's not really that funny. Do you know what I mean? There's people who are really, really unwell. But to go back to the whole productivity and people who are having like 6 cans on a Friday, and then they're like having feeling a bit rough the day, might just go for a couple of pints at lunch, and, you know, nothing's done. Then they're back at work and they're hating their job. I fucking hate my job. This is a slog. Because they've got no downtime. They think their downtime's when they're drinking. That's not. They're exhausted. Their bodies, when they're sleeping, their liver's trying, and they're doing nothing fun. They think it's fun, but it's actually just a conditioned thing that they're doing every week. Just do that again.
It's quite scary as well. I mean, I remember when I worked in the council when I came out of uni, and I just took a year just to kind of earn some money and just have a bit of fun as well. And I remember working in the council at one point, and people go for a liquid lunch on a Friday, and that'd be it. They'd be like, try and squeeze in 3 pints, and I'd be like, this is crazy. And then they'd work throughout the rest of the day. So yeah, I think it is a very British mentality, especially when you're saying about Boris Johnson. I mean, the pictures we've seen of Matt Hancock having a pint, and even Nigel Farage and all these kind of people, as if it's the way you should live your life. And actually, in fact, you don't have to. I mean, I know people that have bought their own kind of the pint things you can buy for your own home now.
Yeah.
It pours a
Kegs,
yeah, all these kind of things as well. So it seems to become part of our society that is so allowed and understood that it becomes these kind of essential shops, which it should be the complete opposite, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
and listen, on the voice of, I guess on the other side, because you'd said, I would have thought of myself as a wanker. I would have said, right, you're a wanker, like 4 years ago. So let's, on the balance of that, right, there might be people that'll be speaking that and saying, right, do you know what? Like, it's just a pint. Like, come on, get over it. It's just a couple of pints. It's doing nothing to me. So I wanted to kind of just, I guess, touch on that, even just at the lightest end, where someone's like washing off the week with a couple of pints, right? Maybe no more than that, 2-3 pints. Chris mentioned something which I never spoke about, but I seen a podcast last year. It's Joe Rogan, 1109. I was just searching for it on my phone there. I wasn't texting. And I'd recommend everyone to go and watch, like, the importance of sleep. But what drink will do will stop you getting into that deep sleep that night. So it's one of the other things that fucking ruins your day and gives you that hangover. But you need your sleep, 7 hours. You need to get into a deep sleep, basically, to get rid of all your waste products in your brain. And if you don't, you're more likely to be drip feeding your progress towards a degenerative brain disease, Alzheimer's, etc., Parkinson's, anything that's going to affect your brain in later life is actually driven, and it's been shown, science to be shown, by basically not getting enough sleep. So this hustle mentality, work hard, party hard, all of that is just basically driving that sort of result later in life. But what drink's doing is stopping you getting into that deep sleep. It's preventing you getting into that area where the deep clean happens, that brain's getting washed out. So even if that's just one night a week, that you're maybe having, 1 or 2 drinks, it's probably not going to have, you're not going to even maybe feel drunk, but that's going to be something that's going to just on one single element, that's going to be something that affects you not only the next day because you've had a poor sleep, but it's potentially going to be affecting you, drip feeding that impact over the course of a year, over 10 years, is going to be potentially making you more at risk to Alzheimer's or other degenerative brain diseases. Why would we do that to ourselves?
Nobody's interested in the long term. That's why. Nobody's interested in that. Nobody, it's what I was saying earlier, it's short-term satisfaction. It's like, oh yeah, it's not going to happen to me. Because we don't talk about it. It's not, I know the book you're talking about, Chris and Darren, sorry. Nobody's talking about that here. We don't, it's not something that people are, when I stopped drinking, I was on medication because my mental health was fucked when I was drinking. And then I started to slowly come off that, which was great, but I had to go on medication to help me sleep for a long time.
Wow.
My sleep was knackered. I'm not on it now, but they had to give me a tablet at night because my sleep was so far gone because I just didn't sleep. And that doesn't, that's not good for you at all, like you're saying. But, if you were to say to anybody about, do you know that drink actually, even one a week that can drip feed into it, they'd be like, no. And if you were to say to somebody, in fact, I will challenge anybody who's listening to this, and you guys, just say some not random, in the supermarket, excuse me, right?
In the drink aisle.
Take your mask down for a second, mate.
Say to them, what's the recommended units that would have it? People don't even know that, and they're like, oh, I think I probably know. And when you say to them, it's a bottle of wine a week, mate, they're like, God, I have 4 or 5 a week. People don't.
So it is a bottle of wine. Wow.
For a woman, it is, yeah.
7 to 10 units, is it?
I think for a woman at the minute, I think it's 11 or 12, and it's a bottle of white wine.
Wow.
So now I was drinking a bottle of wine a night. Some nights I was drinking 3 bottles of wine a night. My friends drink probably 3 bottles of wine a week, and they'd be like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine." And they're clever women. They're professionals. All the rest of it, we just ignore it. We're like, "Poof, doesn't matter. Just gone." I don't know why we're not so concerned. Like when I stopped, I do everything now. I want to live forever. Maybe not forever, but I want to live for as long as I can. There's so much I still want to do. So I know that by stopping drinking, I have given myself this amazing chance to and I've already done so much in 2 years, but I now look after my health so well because I've got the time, I've got the ability. I've removed one thing. I've removed 2 drugs as well, but I've removed something from my life, and it's allowed me to really bring in all this stuff that's allowed me to feel the best I have, to be productive, to be not waste. What a waste of money. Like people often say to me, would you drink? Do you not just fancy one? And I really don't, because I don't know why I would. Because what would it bring to me? What would one drink bring? What What would 2 bring? What would 3? It would just be a waste of money. Like now, the thought of spending £8 on a glass of wine, because that's what I would probably spend, you know, in Edinburgh city centre. Fuck that. Like I can't understand why anybody would want to drink, and that's hard for me to say that because I am quite aware people are probably like, she's a total like anti-alcohol, whatever. But I just don't understand it anymore. Like what are you getting from it?
Well, this is really interesting because I'm on that journey just now of nearly 100 days. But I was I'm part of a rum.
Which I didn't know that, Chris, by the way. That's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I'm part of a rum project as well. So I've got to show that I'm not two-faced in either way. So what I'm conscious of is that I was at a photo shoot the other day and it was in a pub and we're all doing photo shoots for this rum brand and there was so much drink going about. You could just smell it. Nobody was drinking it because it's just the shoot, but you could just smell it. And the smell of it is still getting me. So I'm still, it smells lovely. It smells of vanilla. It smells this. So at some point, I'm looking forward to going back and having a drink as well. But my mentality has changed. I used to be the guy that would go out and black out and drink nights out and all this kind of stuff. And I remember I've read some of your blog posts as well, Kirsty. You said that you just
I've been there when you've been doing it, mate. So.
Yeah, but now looking at it, I've got a different perspective, different lens on what I'm going to be doing. And I went from 66 days to now going 100. And I'm like, will I go further? But that, you get your life back. And I want to touch upon, I'm sure Darren does, some of the stuff you've got down here. I've got notes around DNN and the joy factors, all this kind of your joy lists and all this stuff you've done in that period. And I'm starting to see that you get more to life if you just pause, drink, and even take a big break from it, because you're right, you wake up feeling fresh. You're not chasing the hangover, or the hangover's chasing you. So you're back at work on the Monday, you're like, oh God, back at work. Friday, drink, back at work again. So yeah, no, I totally get it, Kirsty.
See before, and maybe just to frame that, the back of that, Kirsty, as well, because it would be great to hear a bit about the things you've been able to do since you stopped drinking. But you said people aren't interested in the longer term. When you find you're working with either your coaching clients or self-love, because I think there's a lot tied in with like self-worth, that I've not got something that I really love to do or I'm worthy of doing. Whereas if you had that, you might not want to drink because you've got that to look forward to. If people were coming to you and you pointed that out to them, like think about, the next day, think about the things that you would want to do, think about the lost time, regardless of any of this other, health issues and, anything else. It's just giving you an extra day back or half day back on a Sunday, maybe quarter day back on a Monday. Do you think that's enough, or is that enough for people to help them make that change, or do you think there's anything else that's needed?
No, I think when you started, I thought you were going to talk about really long term. If I can get my clients to start thinking about the next again day, I mean, that's there's a hashtag on, Sober Insta, and it's like Smug Sunday. Once people get like four Sundays under their belt where they've not got a hangover, they're like, this is brilliant. Like I have got so much that I'm doing now. I feel like my mother used to say, Sunday well spent brings a week of content or whatever. And there is that for people. And I think they can then start to see the longer terms, because they're saying that, like, especially when they work with me, when they're my clients, not just with me, but any life coach, because they can start being like, I don't know, I can make goals. I can look a wee bit further forward, rather than initially it's always like, oh, I don't know if I can never drink because I've actually got such and such coming up in 6 weeks' time, and I've got well, let's just think about now, and then they can start to see much more future focused. I've said on many things, you've probably read that, I didn't have a future. I didn't think I had a future, because for me, it was just this like perpetual cycle of, it's like Groundhog Day of hangovers. But once I get people maybe a fortnight off the drink, they're like, oh my God, like I have got all that done. And like they're starting couch to 5Ks. They're starting, I've started writing a blog. I've actually started painting. I've started doing this and that. I've started wild swimming. I've started running. Because they're like, at first they're trying to fill the void, and then they're like, oh my God, there's so much more I need to do. So I want to cram all this in. Loads of women come to me, most of them come to me and say, I don't want to stop forever. Definitely don't want to stop forever. And I understand that, because that's scary. Forever is scary, Very, very few of my clients go back to drinking.
Wow.
There was something that, I don't know how relevant it is, but I was hearing something about a study where air hostesses, right, who are smokers, and I don't know whether the same analogy is there for drink, but interesting what you're saying, because it feels like the opposite of what you're like, focusing on the short term. But it was like long haul flights and short haul flights, and they both smoked, and they found that the air hostesses who were on a long haul flight and couldn't smoke didn't, and they had to basically note down their cravings at the same point through, or different points throughout the flight. And so those that were on the long haul flight took ages to get cravings. Their cravings were really low levels throughout the flight until near the end. Whereas those that were on a short haul flight, within half an hour, it was like, oh man, give me that cigarette. And I wonder whether psychologically, is there any potential correlation with something like that, where you're thinking like you can't drink for 90 days or you can't drink for 6 months, or does the actual does the opposite work, you find work better? Just kind of try to take those baby steps. I don't tell
anybody they can't drink. Never say you can't drink. I just say try not drink for next. If you want to drink, that's but people that there's that accountability thing. But I never
you can't do it for them.
Yeah, I say to them, let's try and give 12 weeks. And they're like, oh, I'll give it. In the first few weeks, they're wanting, what it's like, we're having clients, they want to do good for you, and that's human nature. I'm not going to have a drink. I want to tell Kirsty I've done it for a fortnight. So I never say to my client. And then if my client says to me, I was at a party, but I couldn't drink, I will say to them, no, you could, but you chose not to because you're fucking amazing. And they're like, oh my God, yeah, right, yeah, that's amazing. I made that decision. I'm like, yeah, you did. Occasionally people drink in the very beginning and they apologize to me and I'm like, why are you apologizing to me? You don't owe me any apologies. It's yourself, ultimately, that you've made a promise to yourself. A lot of the work that I do with women is, why do we break promises to ourselves? Why do you always break your promise to yourself, but you wouldn't break that promise to your partner or your children or whatever? And that's where the self-love comes in. That's where it's like, right, okay, I am the most important person in my life, and I am the most important person in my life. And what I mean by that is, if I'm not here, who the fuck looks after my daughter? Do you know what I mean? And she's my number one.
Your cat.
And your cat behind you, yeah.
Oh, Betty.
Betty, yeah. Hi, Betty.
Looks like they're looking after you, to be honest.
I wish, mate. There's nobody looks after me. So once I get, and then most women that come, not most, quite a few women that come to me are mums, and they're like, oh no, my kids are my most important. And I'm like, right then, so what happens if you're not looking after you? And the penny drops. And even like, oh, I can't take time. I don't know if I've got an hour to myself during the week, so I get them to work out what time they get up, when they work, when their kids go to bed. They've maybe got fucking, I don't know, 12 hours left in a week. It's like, and one of them's not for you, and they're like mind blown because they've got this narrative. I'm a mom. I've got to do this. It's me. And it's just the stuff that we're telling ourselves. So then they start to think, actually, I don't deserve a drink. I deserve a good night's sleep, and I deserve to get up tomorrow and get out the house before my kid. I run really early in the morning, so a lot of my clients want to do that as well. And they're like, God, it was amazing. I was up an hour before the kids or my husband or whatever, and I'm happy. And it starts to dawn on them, when I love myself, that means not like, I was a kid of the 80s, born in the 70s, sorry. My mum was like, oh, she loves herself. I don't know who she thinks she is. And there's that thing, isn't it? Oh my God, she loves herself. We're not talking about that. We're talking about, I love myself so much that I'm not going to do anything that's going to harm me or is going to cause me any problems or going to stop me reaching my goals. So people will come to me and they'll say, I would love to run my own business, or I would love to get promoted, or I'd love to, but I just can't do it because and then once we start to get them to love themselves, they'll be like, actually, I can do this, or it's worth the risk because I'm worth that. I love myself enough to try and push myself a little bit further. And it's the same with the drink as well. And I love it. All these women now, while swimming or leaving their jobs or doing
Fantastic.
things. It has me in tears sometimes. Like emails that I get from people. I've had women fall pregnant. They've really struggled to get pregnant for years, and then they've had like 12 weeks off, and they're having.
Do you know what? It's so weird. I don't know whether you know this or not, but me and Jill were trying for a year and a half, couple of years, and then she did Sober for October. I'm not putting it down, but she definitely does. She's like done Sober for October, and that was it.
Just like to put out there, I don't want any more babies, but that's not why I'm doing this. Like all these great things that people are doing, and then they have, they're like, I can't believe I didn't do this sooner, or I can't believe that it was the drink that was stopping me. And to go back to what you were saying at the beginning, these are not women who are drinking to the extent, some of them were, to the extent that I am. These are women that were Thursday, Friday night drinkers. Work's been hard, my husband's a prick, the kids are annoying me, and then they just remove it, and then now that the things are lifting, women are messaging me and going, oh my God, is it my friends for a barbecue? And it didn't even bother me. I was just like, I'm not, because it's the peer pressures a real big one in this country as well. And I'm not on a mission to have everybody being sober. I really am in, but I am on a mission for everybody to reach their potential and absolutely love the shit out of their lives.
Well, that's what I love. Everything I've read from you to date. It's all about loving yourself and connecting with who you are. And I love the quote on your website as well. It says, "For the bold and rebellious women." And that's you. I love that as well. That comes across from what you're saying. It's that energy and that passion. I love the fact you're telling people, like, look after yourself, because there's a great analogy of people talking around going back to the flight as well. If you're on a flight and it's going to be a crash, whatever, the face mask comes down, the oxygen mask, who do you put it on? You don't put it on your family, you put it on yourself first. Because if you don't put it on yourself first, you can't help anyone else. So I love that as well.
I love those, and I am the queen of tough talk, right? My clients, oh my God, there's tough love in there, but I love a cheesy analogy. And I'm like, can't pour for once you start loving yourself, right? Your cup is overflowing, and you can overflow from your overspill. You know, once you start, I am so happy. I am so grateful. Like, and I live a life of gratitude, and I can't believe the life that I've got now. And it's because I love myself and I care for myself and I'm putting myself first, and I've worked hard, and there's nobody's going to do this for me. Nobody put me through my diploma. Nobody stopped me drinking. At first I used to say things like, oh yeah, you know, I was really bad for giving my power away, you know, and saying it was other people that had done it. And then it was my coach, like, why are you doing that? Like, you live alone. You've lived alone for almost as long as Sky is. 17 years I've lived on my own. I've worked on my own. I've done everything on my own. And, you know, I used to always like, oh, such and such helped, or such. And the day that I was like, no, this is me. This is my power. I'm a powerful woman. I love who I am. I'm taking risks. I'm making changes. And I love to see other women do that, because we are powerful. And we all are. Like, men as well, I just don't work with men. But I'm sure you're great too.
I mean, actually, it might be, I don't know how I follow that, but I'd love to get on to the fact about your daily non-negotiables. I actually love that. I love that in one of your posts. And actually, another post I loved as well is around loving yourself. You kind of brought it right back down, and you kind of stripped it right back. And I love your blog posts. They're basically like this. They're just so authentic. They're so real. There's a lot of swear words in there as well. It's fantastic.
Do you remember when we were training together and I was just dropping F-bombs everywhere?
It's like you're in our mate. It's like you're doing Audible. You're reading it as we're reading it. It's fantastic. Yeah. So
I tell you, my daily non-negotiables, they can change. So I tell my clients, have a list of joy, have a daily non-negotiables. What's non-negotiable for me is meditating twice a day and do my gratitude. That's really, really important to me. Having some time on reading. I have to read every single day, whether it's Audible. I played about, Darren, did you do the Miracle Morning, mate?
Yeah, I did. I actually did it for about 1.5 years, and then I found it overbearing. I do about 4 things in the morning, which are similar.
Yeah. I tell myself I love myself every morning. During lockdown, I found it really hard. I found it really incredibly lonely during lockdown. As I've said, I live with my daughter. She's coming up for 18, but she lives between her dad's house and mine, which is fantastic. We've got a great relationship, but it was very, very lonely, and I was really missing something, and probably, you know, company or comfort or whatever. And I put that in place for myself. I just reminded me, I went back to basics for when I stopped drinking. When I stopped drinking, I had to keep reminding myself, I had to keep putting my hand on my heart and say to myself, it's okay, we're going to be all right. Everything's all right. We're going to get through this. And very early in lockdown, that's how it felt again. So every morning I tell myself I'm delighted I'm alive, and I give myself a wee squeeze, and I say that I love myself. And I realise that sounds really far out, but it's like an affirmation to me, you know, and I tell myself I'm grateful for myself. I always make sure I've got things that I'm grateful to me for on my gratitude list, things only I could do for me, to remind myself how important I am to myself, how important I am to my growth and to thrive in. And my list of joy is just things that make me so happy, and that's seeing the sunrise. I get up really, really early in the morning. It's so important. There's a window over there, and I do some stretching in the morning over there in front of that.
I seen watching the tarot reading cards on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. I read my own tarot. I do my tarot.
I'm gonna have to pass it on to my sister. She loves all that as well, so she'll become a bit of a fan as well.
So yeah, I do my tarot. I do clubhouse rooms with other women who are into that sort of stuff, and I just add it to my self-development. I do not believe I'm in any way psychic or whatever, but I do work with my intuition. So you're looking at the cards, what do you see, and why do you think you focus on that first of all? I journal every day, every single day, and I'm living a life that I always wanted to live. Like, I used to look at these people and think, oh my God, I would love to live that life, just because I always thought it just looked really fulfilling and enriched. I was going to say wholesome. don't think I'm wholesome. But, you know, it just kind of look, you know, and I like going out on my bike, I swim in the sea. And I remember looking at people and then thinking it was out of my reach, but it's just how I live now.
Yeah, but it's interesting as well that, like, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. None of this just happened. It wasn't like a light switch and then suddenly you done all of these things. So it sounds like your gratitude practice and being sober were the catalysts. They were the kind of the foundation with which you've built, and you've taken little steps towards creating this life. And now you reaffirm that to yourself every single day.
Yeah.
And like, it sounds phenomenal. We were speaking earlier on, and I know you were telling me this. And that, you know, hugging yourself, telling yourself that you love. A lot of people, you know, will probably be looking at that going, "Whoa, like I've never really heard of that." But of course, who would talk about that? Who would, you know, where's the forum for people to say that's not the type of thing you would talk about at a cafe or down the pub? Excuse the irony.
You go to the pub.
Yeah, if you go to the pub, yeah.
I like going to the pub. No, I really enjoy the pub.
Yeah, and Chris and I, we were talking. We done a bit of a review of the first 12 episodes of the podcast today, and we were one of the women we had on has a business, Arlo and Jude, and she's found this uptake of a worry doll. Now, it was for kids to talk to before they go to sleep, tell their worries. But Chris reminded me, actually, we've seen a lot of adults buying them, particularly over lockdown, and I think it's probably not that strange. It's not that uncommon anyway that people will have, you know, negative thoughts or worries or concerns or things that don't feel great that they actually need to share to someone or something, but that person's either not there or, you know, it's not a objective space. You're always, you know, you can't necessarily always tell these things to a partner or a friend or a loved one. So I do think there's probably COVID's maybe taught a lot more people to take some time and think about themselves, who they are, what they want, what they need within their life as well. And I think this is a great time to be having this conversation, because just because the pubs are back open, it doesn't mean we should be just jumping out and getting slammed. Like, I thought it was crazy last year when it happened and the beer gardens were absolutely rammed. I don't think I went out once. And I think I'd done at least 6 months sober last year. And I've done bouts of 3 months, you know, around that a couple of times as well. But I'm not looking for like a badge of honor. I genuinely say, like, it does sicken me a little bit when you see the pubs are open, and that's really important and that's essential. And we've got to run back and support the economy and pour poison into our body. It's pretty crazy.
But I guess, I mean, you've also mentioned that, because there's a community aspect to it as well, which we can't take away from the pub. So that's where people want to get together. That's where they feel that kind of the community of getting together, and that's a danger as well, where you can be down the pub and you can probably knock back 4 or 5 pints without realising you've knocked back 4 or 5 pints, and then you're back the next day and the next day and the next day after that as well. So, I mean, I was amazed myself when you see when the pubs opened up and it was midnight. It was in England, wasn't it? And they showed you the video footage of the people sitting outside, and it was pouring down 1 minute past midnight, and they're sitting there with somebody had their nightgown on. I was like, fantastic, credit to them. But I'm like, what a crazy life you lead. But I think I wouldn't take that much away from it. I think the pub is really important from that kind of getting together. It's like these kind of the bowling club that my father-in-law goes to, the bowls club. He goes there not really to play bowls, but for the community aspect. But at the same time, he gets absolutely hammered. So you've got to get that balance right as well, which is really tough. That's from my point of view.
Yeah. So where I imagine, Kirsty, I guess someone's watching this either just now or watching it back, and someone's like, do you know what? Yeah, like I hear what they're saying. I don't have an extreme drink problem, or even if you do, but I want to start making some changes. From your experience working with people, working within the Sober Buzz community and elsewhere, where's the best place that they can start? I know Chris mentioned the social aspect. You know, where's the best place, I guess, for people to start to try and make some change? I
always tell anybody that wants to stop drinking or wants to make positive changes to their drinking habits is make their list of whys. Do you know, like, why do you want to stop drinking? I always say get a notepad, put it at the back of your notepad, like a new notepad, put it at the back of your notepad, and just keep going back to it, you know, day after day. Why do I not want to drink? And then start adding the positive to why I don't want to drink. Well, actually, I've not drunk for a week now and I'm feeling like this. I've actually got a bit more done. I would definitely say try and give yourself a prolonged period of time off it. Like, and the sad thing is, a prolonged period of time in this country is probably like 5 days. But you know, even if you can try and get a fortnight, 3 weeks under your belt to see how you feel, and be really fucking honest with yourself why you want to stop drinking. Have a notepad that nobody's going to look at, you know, and be honest. You know, it might be that, oh my God, I black out. I don't remember going to my bed from the living room. It might be, you know, I done I didn't behave great when the last time I was out. I actually had a dreadful argument with my partner. I said, get it down on paper and look at it and get out there and own it. And own it. Right, I am owning that behaviour. I'm owning that behaviour, and I'm going to take steps to make sure that I don't do that again. So a question I get asked all the time was that your rock bottom in December when I stopped drinking? It wasn't. It was bad. There was rock bottoms for 14 years before I stopped drinking. I tried to stop. But it wasn't until I owned them and then forgave myself. I was like, okay, where was I? What was going on? What was the external circumstances? Did I know any better? I'm not in any way justifying all my behaviour, but I had to own it, you know, like, so even if you're just somebody that is drinking a couple of times a week and you just don't like, so, and it's embarrassing because you're like, oh gosh, the kids didn't get to school this morning or the kids didn't get up. Put it down on paper. I know it hurts. I know it feels awkward. Put it down on paper and see it there and be like, that's not fucking happening again. It's not going to happen again. Once you have it on a bit of paper, there's no hiding from it. It's not just like up here, you know, giving you the fear and all the rest of it. I always say the fear is because people are not living by their core values. You know, like once we start drinking, all our values go out the window. Like one of my core values is honesty. I used to pretend I was a fucking dentist when I was drinking, when I was drunk. So get it down. You know, all this behaviour that you would not dream of doing when you were so, get it down there and then be like, right, that's what's haunted me. That's why I want to stop drinking. That's what I can't talk about to anybody. That's what I don't want to mention. Then be like, here we go. Let's crack on. People will be like, oh, you know, but lockdown's just lifting, or somebody's got a wedding, or somebody's got a holiday. Do you really want to stop drinking? Do you like, you know, why do you keep going back and forward with this? Or my friends do this, my friend. No, your friends don't make you drink. You're succumbing to that peer pressure. I do a video on Sober Buzz about that, actually. About really, is it your friends or is it because you're just, you know, like want to use them as an excuse? So get everything down on a bit of paper, why you want to stop drinking. And then every single day, even if you're not an everyday drinker, think, brilliant, I didn't drink today. I'm going to bed tonight. That's number 1 down. You know, that's number 2. That's number 3, 66 days, 67 days. And to say what you were saying earlier about me being in lockdown or people being in lockdown and using worry dolls or, you know, hugging themselves or all the rest of it, throughout my own personal development, through reading books or through the divine goddess work that I do and all the rest of it, really working on myself. Every time I notice a shift in my mindset, every time I notice, I'm like, I reacted differently to that. Something happened this week and I was delighted. I stood on my fucking laptop screen, but I didn't, the old me would have went mental. I just put back, I done my gratitude. I was like, I can deal with that. I can, you know, congratulate yourself on all these things. You need to be, you know, we all want validation. I don't care what anybody says, everybody likes validation. We need to start validating ourselves because your longest relationship is with yourself. Now, I'm single, I'm a single woman. But by the time I meet someone, that, you know, they'll know how to treat me because I'll be treating myself with such respect and such care and such, I've done great. And, you know, I'm not going to slip, my standards aren't going to slip for anybody because I'll be like, no, this is how I live. I'm congratulating myself on all this great work that I'm doing. And that's not showing off, or that's not me like, I don't shout it from the rooftops. I'm just making mental notes of it or putting it in my journal. Reacted differently to that, you know. So if you're not drinking, that felt great because I wasn't drinking today. What was different about what was different because I didn't drink this weekend? I got more done. I got such and such to their football in time. I actually really enjoyed my weekend. I felt great. I got a good night's sleep. So really journal it. Don't just think about it. Get it on paper. So when a week later comes and you're like, maybe I will just have a bottle of red. Nah, remember. And you know, it's Russian roulette. I'm not always bad on a drink, but is it worth the risk? You know, okay, so it's just 2 nights out of 6 that are, you know, out of your 6 nights drinking. Yeah. Go back to why you've enjoyed not drinking and keep adding to that and really start to build like a dossier of, you know, why life is better. That's not to say you don't have to drink again, but it might change the way you drink or change when you drink. I hope that answered.
No, it definitely does. I think like so it sounds like building an evidence case. Yeah. Like so, like I sat down here and I was like if you were to prescribe all the shit that drinking gives you, even just at the small end of the scale, what is it? So that's where I was like, anxiety, low sex drive, lethargy, poor diet, sleep, you know, lower life expectancy, like like whatever else. It's crazy, the list. So, but what you're saying is create maybe some of that list, but also like physically what's going on, maybe on when you're drinking or just after you're drinking, maybe you blacked out, or the next morning, how are you feeling? You forgot something, you couldn't get the kids up, or you couldn't get yourself up.
How were you with your partner? Were you rude to them or to your friends or whatever?
Track it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so build that case. So once you've got that case, once you've created time, like I think stopping drinking is one of the greatest time savers. Not just because you'll stop. When I've done this, I've been out with the lads and I've had the smug Sundays even dealing with the banter like for the lads. And I'd still have had a fantastic night, but I'd say, right, 10:30, it's turned to gibberish, guys. I'm out of here, and I'm up and I'm doing something on Sunday. I'm going for a run, I'm at the gym or whatever. Does it switch to filling the time or putting something in the time that's positive, something that you really, really enjoy to do, maybe aligned to your values or aligned to your passions?
Do you know, a lot of the work that I do with clients, not just with drinking, anything, is removing negative self-talk, removing limiting beliefs, all the rest of it. Once we remove that, it's really, really important that we put something else in, whether it's positive self-talk, whether it's, you know, new beliefs about ourselves. So if you're removing the drink, it's exactly the same. What do I put in that place? Generally say make plans first thing in the morning, you know, like that you don't want to get out of. Make promises to people like, we're going to do this, we're definitely going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, or, you know, go and see the sunrise, or, you know, drive somewhere.
I love that.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
So just like create a plan so that it's almost forcing you to stay accountable the next day to that person that you want to be sat there doing something you really, really want to do.
Or the old one, you know, like visualize your highest self. Who are you in a fortnight's time? What do you want to sit and say thank you to yourself today in a fortnight's time? I love that. I still use that. I've got that on my bedroom wall. I've got visualize your highest self and show up as her today. And that fucking drives me. I'm like, what do I want to thank myself for in 4 weeks' time? And be like, bam. Like I done my half marathon 2 weeks early because there's stuff that I want to do in a couple of weeks and all the rest of it. Fucking buzzing. Like, and I put the work in for that. And I knew that I'd be able to say to myself, right, you've done it. That's amazing. You know, I visualized me at the end of that, like weeks before. I visualized how I'd feel. See, this morning, Wednesday morning used to be my long morning run. And I wake up at 5 anyway. And that's not a brag. I just don't sleep great in the mornings. I go to my bed really early. Woke up this morning and I was like, so proud of old me, because I've got out the way and I just got my book and went back to bed and read for longer this morning, rather than hoofing about Edinburgh, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So visualize who you want to be. How do you want to feel when you wake up on that Saturday morning, hangover free, or Sunday morning? How will you feel? What will you cook for your breakfast? What music will you put on? Who will you be laughing about that's still hungover? Like if you've got to do that, that's fine.
Well, that's why I'm laughing as well, because when you were saying about diary, basically how bad it was, I was cringing inside thinking, fucking hell, if I had to put how bad that was, that's going to be really bad. But again, like Darren saying, that evidence base, before you even go and have a drink, you can look at that and go, shit, that could actually turn out to be one of those days. You know what? I'm actually going to just leave it. And like you're saying, the smug Sundays, I love that as well. Trying to get 3 in a row. Was that right? 3 in a row? Trying to achieve 3 in a row. And at that point, you can look back at yourself and say, that's a good target.
This isn't a dig at you, Chris, at all. But it's just
no.
And you're like, oh my God, I would die if I had to write that down. That says it all. Now, I mean, I have done some dreadful, things to myself more than anybody else. But if we're feeling so ashamed that we can't even write down what only us will see, we need to know that can't continue, because my negative self-talk was so bad, and I've told this loads, so you've probably read it, that my affirmations 4 years ago in the shower were, I fucking hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself. And I know that's one of the reasons I say, love myself, I love you, you're going to be okay today, I'm going to take care of you. I had some hard news a couple of weeks ago about a family member. It was really, really tough. And I just told myself, it's going to be okay, I'm going to look after you, it's just going to be sound. Wrote all down in my journal, because I just have to rewire my brain so not to go back to that, oh my God, can I cope with this? I don't know if I can cope with this. And it's just that rewiring. But if you're thinking, this is so bad that I can't put on paper, not just you, Chris, anybody, that's telling you that, you know, there has to be change. If we're cringing so bad, there has to be changes. Like I used to want to burn my phone. In fact, I used to want to burn my whole existence, like in New Zealand. You know, like it was so awful.
Is this why you were dressed up as a dentist?
Yeah. I used to say
you had the dentist mask on before COVID was even a thing, right? So
like, I'll tell you though, when I was really young, I told somebody I was a music journalist for the Edinburgh University, and I got tickets to Nebworth to see Oasis. I swear to God, I was there. But don't do it, kids. It's wrong.
So there's pros and cons. There's pros and cons. What you're saying there.
Yep.
No, that's fantastic. It's been great, kind of hearing that. I think those two things are great, because it doesn't need to be huge. You're like, get through write down all those things, make that evidence case, and then fill it with something that you actually genuinely want to do. Hold yourself accountable the next day, and actually, it's easy. I think thinking back, more often than not, there's definitely been times where people are like, oh, I've got work in the morning, but they'll still go out on the bevy the night before. But if it's something you absolutely love, it's like you're early to bed, you're like, I need to go. You'd maybe even just have 1 or 2 drinks, but you would go early. So it's maybe just trying to, you know, plan your life around basically the pinch points that might, you might be susceptible to go and drink, which is like very easy advice. Like it's easy to do, it's easy not to do as well. So yeah, I think that's been super helpful. And it's been great getting into that and chatting it through, Kirsty. I know I'm looking at my watch. You're a 9 to bed, or 9:30, is it, to bed girl, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right. I can see Betty in the background's looking a bit tired as well.
Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed.
I'm usually earlier than that, let's be honest, but I'm okay. I'm not in a rush. I've actually got my jammy bottoms on, so I really just have to go brush my teeth and put my jammy top on.
Honesty at the very
It's
end.
when you said you were at 5 a.m. I was like, I'm sure Kirsty like normally goes, like she's in bed by now and she's hit like 9 o'clock. You're sleeping. What's your bedtime routine? Do you read or meditate before you go to?
I'll tell you something really. I can't meditate just before bed because I fall asleep. But I remember a long time ago, I watched a YouTube video, I think, and Dr. Wayne Dyer said that we marinate in our last thoughts. So I make sure when I go into sleep.
I know the same YouTube. I watch that before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the same YouTube video.
So I always think over my daily gratitude. I think about what I want to achieve the next again day. Most of my routines in the morning, I'm really, really wide awake in the morning. I'm, ready to go. That's when I do all my stuff. I read at night. Just go to my bed and read. I don't have a telly, so I've never ever watched the telly. I just have some music on and then just go through my room and read. But I do very little at night. That's the kind of running joke with people that know me, because I am honestly wide awake at 5 and up like bing like that, and and getting so much done. So this is me chilled at the moment. I'm much more lively in the morning, but I always make sure I marinate myself in my thoughts. Or if I'm manifesting, and I'm not one of these people that's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to manifest and it's going to happen. I do believe in thinking about things and what you want, and then I start to put plans in place for them. And quite often, if there's something that I really want, I'll think about that when I'm going to sleep and try and evoke those feelings so I can feel like I've already got it. So when I get up in the morning, I'm like, right, okay, what do I need to do to have that? But yeah, nighttime, it's just having some incense on and reading and just being, I am so happy for my nights now. Like, it's just, I still am so delighted that I wash my face and brush my teeth and go to my bed, because very rarely done that back then, And that sounds disgusting, that's embarrassing, but it's true. It'd be like, oh my God, better get to bed, and or whatever, and
woke up with a half pizza supper on the hair or something like that. And maybe that was just me. But
pizza supper.
I used to wake up and the takeaways had been phoning me and I'd fallen asleep before they arrived, and all that carry on. But when I said at the very beginning that about my gratitude and everything, I live in gratitude every day, like every single day. Like, I'm so grateful for everything that I've got. And I might have said that already, but I truly am. And that's how my nighttime goes before I go to sleep. I'm just grateful for all the opportunities. And
which interestingly, and bringing it back to the topic, is you won't do when you're drunk, because it drives negative thoughts. It'll be depressing thoughts. You're not going to be manifesting anything good if you're going to bed with a cup after a couple of drinks. And you're not going to get a good sleep, so you ain't going to be ping at the when the alarm goes off or when you wake up in the morning. So I
would I want to stop saying this. I really, really want to stop saying it, and I might make a promise to myself. But I would have been like, what have I got to be grateful? What does that woman think that I've got to be grateful for? That would have been me. Why is she grateful? Like, why does she think I could be grateful? I was her because I was a victim. I was. I lost my mum really suddenly 10 years ago, and that was really hard for me. And of course it was, and it was dreadful. But I eventually got myself out of that victim state, But I would have been like, oh my God, how dare that woman sit there? That life coach. What does she know about being, my life? Why should I be grateful? And I understand that. My gratitude list that morning that I stopped drinking, where my friend had to come down and take the drink out of my house, and I was really bad. I was really, really unwell. I had 4 things on my gratitude list. One was my now ex-partner, and it was Sky, who's my daughter, my best friend, and that I was alive. That's all I thought I had to be grateful for. All I thought I had to be grateful for. So we're talking, I had to dig deep, it was like, really. So this is not, if people are listening and thinking, God, like, my life's really hard. I know what it's like to have a hard life. And I, and even back then I was like, why have I got to be, I wish my mum was still here. I've got a drink problem, all the rest of it. But it's just made me even more grateful to get to this point now. And every day I just dug deep with that. And I started to be like, oh, my house is quite nice. I God, I've got a good music taste. I support an all right football team. They were all right back then, and started to add more and more to my gratitude, and start to realise I've got more going for me than I've not got going for me. But I do understand there will be some people who might be listening to this who are in debt or who are struggling in their jobs but we all have things that we can be grateful for. And it might just be that we looked at our children today. It might just be that we, have a roof over our head, that we have running water. But I get it's hard. And if you're in a dark place, and I always worry that people are like, God, fucking I right then, everyone's gonna be right with gratitude. But I was there, I was really there.
And what I'm hearing is start where you are. And I'm glancing up behind me here because when you started talking, I'm going to stop talking about it, and I'm going to say you shouldn't really stop talking about it. It's Marianne Williamson's poem, Our Greatest Fear, Our Deepest Fear. And it's you shouldn't dim yourselves. We often ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, talented, fabulous? Well, actually, who are you not to be? You shouldn't dim your light because other people might find that that's too much for them. And I think what I've seen, even just over the last year, but from the sounds of it, that's been something you've been cultivating for, the last few years at least, is that you shining bright, speaking your message, and not talking from a place of being on a high horse, not being all righteous, around it. It's about saying, look, I've had some dark times. I've went through a ton of shit. A couple of people's fair amount of shit in my life, and you've been able to, through stopping drinking, through gratitude practice and everything, I guess you practice, your daily non-negotiables, has got you to the place that you're so grateful for your life just now. So you've earned the right to be able to talk about that because you're living proof of what you've done.
And it's very kind of sums it up by saying it's all about loving yourself, which is what you tell your clients and what you're telling yourself, the hugs and everything else. So it's fantastic.
I don't want to go into it. I talk too much at the moment, but I'll just very briefly touch on Darren knows I had something dreadful happen to me 2 years ago, and I thought I would maybe start drinking. I didn't. I think everybody thought I'd start drinking. So I did have to have a real dig deep moment again, which will be 2 years next month. And it can be done, and I will say that, if you're feeling it's really, really struggling and things are really hard, there is positive in every single day. And Darren, you put beautifully there, just start where you are and then just keep adding to it. Some nights I can't stop some mornings I can't stop writing my gratitude.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've loved the chat. I can't believe we're over an hour now, and I was thinking we'll have 45 minutes down, but the time's just flown by. It's just so easy to chat on a subject we're all passionate about. What have you got going on just now? How can people find you, follow you? I know you're a Clubhouse queen these days as well, which I'm an Android user, so
on Friday, buddy, you can
never been. Oh, really? Is that it? For us Android users?
Mine says women only though, so don't bother. So I'm actually starting a new self-love group coaching, which starts in June. It's pretty full on, my self-love coaching. It's about limiting self-belief. It's about negative talk. It's about boundaries, values, all that sort of stuff. That's starting next month. It's a 5-week course and just my usual one-to-one work. And Soberbuzz. I'm always on Soberbuzz. If anybody wants to drop me a message, what I would like to say, if anybody does, is if anybody approaches me on Soberbuzz, I don't tell anybody. It's just me that runs it. It's only me that looks at the messages. There's absolutely. I think, Darren, I hope you'll back me. There's zero judgment. I'm not a judgmental person at all. I always say to people, I used to work in a prison, so you ain't going to shock me. Or if somebody's concerned about a relative, quite often people get in touch with me because they're worried about maybe a family member or whatever. That's what it's there for. Get in touch and I can put you in touch with people all across the country, or maybe I can help or whatever. So my page is Sky Rose Coaching. And I'm mostly on Instagram. I'm shit on Facebook. And Soberbuzz Scotland is better on Instagram. I don't even look at Facebook. I don't even know my password for Soberbuzz Scotland.
I'm laughing. I'm the same with my business as well. My Facebook's terrible, so that's why I'm laughing.
So that's where you'll find me. And hi, just come and I've got my blogs, which are on my website, which is actually getting rebuilt at the minute. So I'm surprised you found them. And in my link tree on Sky Rose Coaching, there's loads of free stuff on there, like for people who
a Spotify playlist I noticed as well.
Oh yeah,
I had a wee sneaky listen.
I often share Spotify playlists on my newsletters as well. I love music; it's my thing. But yeah, a lot of people say to me, I don't know where to start with self-love. And I get that. I absolutely, there's so much jargon on Instagram. You're like, what does that mean? What do you mean by love myself? So I've got a couple of guides that are free on my link tree. And I've got 2 guides to a gratitude practice. So, with 5 or 6 different ways to bring gratitude into your life. And because it's life-changing.
Cool. Well, I'll make sure. Well, I think you'll be able to go into the link and just drop your comments and stuff like that. But I'll make sure I add them if you don't. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. It's been great catching up, like speaking today and tonight. And yeah, like I'm sure people have got loads of value from it. And yeah, hopefully we'll like get you on in another 1,000 days at least, or even before.
I know, excited. I was thinking that I was like it's not till December, but like I was like 4 years with a peeve. Then I worked out how long it would be like for me to be like, how old will I have to be to have been longer not drinking? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I reckon I started drinking when I was 14 and I stopped when I was 41. So that's 27 years. So I've only got another 25 years to be like, oh yeah, I've had a longer time not drinking.
That's some long-term goals right there.
It is. I cannot wait. You better believe I'll be all over the socials saying that. How old will I be? Oh my God, I'll be 70 or something. I can't.
You'll be the world leader on that as well at that point.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys.
No, cheers. Thanks, Kirsty. It's been great.
As always, thank you so much for listening to the Pop Pod this week. If you'd like to leave a review or share the podcast with others, then that'd be awesome. You'll find us on Instagram at the Pop Pod, and on Facebook we have a community group called Purpose to Progress that anyone can join. And we'll be back every Monday with a new episode, but until then, stay on purpose and we'll see you next week.